Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. More of your phone calls next. First, Michael Dougherty joins us, the cybersecurity guru. And I don't know if he's hanging out with Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Maybe he has some tax advice on how not to pay taxes like Amazon. But he joins us now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. And no, we're not chatting. We're not tight.
That is...
My income is way too low. He probably thinks I'd be applying for a job or something.
Well, not that that's a bad thing, I suppose, with Amazon, the way they're rolling so much. It's amazing, a story that's not getting a lot of coverage, but you're on it. And that would be the case of Lara Logan of CBS saying, yeah, the media is biased. They're all libs.
Well, you know, it's really, how dare she talk about the elephant in the room, right? You know, how dare she? And their reaction is just so telling, because it's the usual suspects that play. But just look at the evidence of the last, 4 or 5 days that's going on in Chicago. This guy makes up this stuff. The left-wing medium doesn't even verify what he says. He gets flown in. He's in Good Morning America. He gets a softball interview. We get to race bait, rip Chicago to shreds, create all sorts of tension. Then we find out he's lying. Some childish ruse to get a raise, exploiting race relations, Chicago, the police. And what does the media do? Pull the plug on coverage. Unless Don Lemon goes, well, it's not his fault. So, yeah, this is just terrifying that they think, they've just, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle, so what do they have to lose, right? They might as well just be unabashedly biased and terrible.
Right, but, here you have this award-winning correspondent from 60 Minutes. I don't know, Michael, why we can't hire Americans, but, maybe people like the accents, but for no rhyme or reason, she comes out and says, they're all libs, and I'm one of them, and then she gets the boot from 60 Minutes 3 days later.
Well, she actually left 60 Minutes several months ago, so that was not the boot. But she, she's had issues because you have to understand. I've known her for a while, and she's an extremely intense person, and her career has been literally living in the battlefield of really vicious Middle East wars. She is a true, gritty, very courageous war correspondent. Politics doesn't roll with people like that. Going along to get along isn't even an option. And yet going along to get along is what you got to do if you want to be an American journalist these days and get platform. So she was really boxed in because you can't be a war correspondent. And, she was raped in the middle of Egypt, in a huge, she has been through it. And she is brave and courageous, but her career is built on that. There's no space for her so in a way, what does she have to lose? She's going to have to rebuild herself, but she's got her credibility intact, and people will trust her. And that's all she had. But when you're sitting there living, she was in Iraq for 5 years. She's unbelievable. She truly is a force of nature. And that's just reality to her. And to sit here and have to kowtow out of these executives about lying and bluffing the entire world with biased stories, and not just what you say within your stories, but what's worse is what you choose not to report. Again, with what's going on in Chicago, once they're cold flat busted, they just pull the air out of the room. Just like that kid, within the Indian video in D.C. is now suing for $250 million. It's really terrifying when they pull the plug and shut the story down. One thing's for sure, they're not defending the American public by speaking truth to power. That is not going on. They are trying to brainwash the American public by keeping people in power they want to have in power. Terrifying.
Our great friend Michael Dougherty joining us on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. This issue here continues when we're taking a look at the fate of the Republic. And you, as someone who takes a look at cybersecurity issues, the Internet, the devil inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. We haven't asked you lately about, and for people that are tuning in all the time, more and more people are finding us thanks to great guests like you, Michael. How much do the big money HMOs, how much does Big Pharma, how much does Big Medicine know about you and me, brother?
Well, not that, not that much, because they're companies, and big medicine. I don't even know if big medicine exists, quite frankly, but big pharma certainly is in its own world. And I don't know what the tail wags the dog. The original sin to me is big insurance, and the original sin to me is the politicians that politicize medicine, because and that started a scheme that companies have to function within. And pharma has been turned into the beast it had no choice but to turn into, based on the realities of how the government was working the requirements put on them once the government decided that they want to jump into medicine and politicize it. I mean, they have exploited and twisted and regulated medicine in a way that only people with power but no medical knowledge would do. And they've created a system where you've got to play this game. And then once they force you to do that, then they smack you in the face for playing the game they've created. So, and then who pays the price? Always the patient. Because the patient is the most ignorant person in the room. I mean, we're not medical professionals when we're sick. And we visit the system, but we don't participate in the system. So they don't know us, but to me, the original sin starts in Washington and with insurance carriers and how insurance carriers bought Congress. And Congress is only interested in anything that helps them politically. And so if they get to lie to their constituents, which Kamala Harris is like the one of the new all-time best liars, for example, to scare them into submission, medicine was the perfect thing to do that, because most people aren't experts in medicine. They don't become participants in the medical system until they're much older, and then they're pretty much close to death and they're gone. So the educated medical consumer is soon the dead consumer.
Michael Dougherty, if people want to get a hold of you, what can they do?
Well, MichaelJDougherty.com, which is always easier just to put devilinsidethebeltway.com in, and then you can go to Facebook and Twitter there, and or you can download the first chapter of my book free of charge there, and you can see what's going on, and just keep your eyes peeled, because the next book hopefully will be out in a year.
Michael, we'll have you back. Thank you, sir.
All right, good talking to you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Michael Dougherty joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. If you missed it,
declared a national emergency to build his border wall. If you were in office, what would constitute a national emergency?
Oh, let's do the list. Climate change, gun violence, student loan debt, right off the top. That's what we ought to be working on. And we ought to be working on it together.
Right, tell that to Nancy Pelosi about walls are immoral. There we have it, President Warren for you. Brian in Nampa with Kevin Miller. Thank you for your patience on KIDO Talk Radio.
No problem, Kevin. Hey, I got the answer for all those issues. You ready?
Yeah.
Now, you play her part, and I'll answer the question. So hit me with the first one.
I'm Elizabeth Warren?
Yeah.
Well, we need to declare a national emergency for climate change.
Oh, okay. So my argument is that every single one of these arguments is fabricated by the Democrats. If you read their own book, Rules for Radicals, they say create a problem and then say they have the answer to fix it. So my answer to that is the Word of God. It's a two-edged sword. It divides every other sword asunder. It cuts through the truth. I don't believe in climate change. You're wrong. Next one.
Gun violence.
Oh, you're right. We do have a violence problem in this country. It's not just guns. I've seen people beat to death with baseball bats or fists or hands or feet. But I do agree we have a violence problem. What created that problem? Well, that problem's been around since Cain and Abel. If you go use the Word of God and learn about Cain and learn what his secret works were and his secret oaths, you could say, maybe robbers, thieves, murderers. You can fix that problem. clear back in the Old Testament. So the violence problem we can fix, again, with the Word of God, a double-edged sword. Next one.
And finally, student loan debt. That's a national emergency.
Oh, okay, so you spent more money on your education than you should have. And you trusted people that said, hey, if you give me this money, I'll teach you these doctrines of the left so you can get a job from the left. Is that a secret oath again? Now, this is my point, Kevin. You know, I apologize. You know, I have good days and bad days. And a couple of weeks ago, you were talking about, you know, the Catholic Church. And I'm not here to badmouth any church. I believe in freedom of religion. You go back 8 generations, and my family were Catholics. We're Knights of the Holy Sepulchre. You can't base your faith on people. I don't care if it's Moses. Even he got punished because he took credit for getting the water out of the rock. Okay? So a prophet of God makes mistakes. So the Pope's going to make mistakes. So bishops are going to make mistakes. Every human on this planet makes mistakes. There's only one man that's never sinned, and that's Jesus Christ. That's who you put your faith in. Now, can you learn things from other men? Yeah. You can learn what to do or what not to do. There's how you fix every single problem Elizabeth Warren has created, and the left has created, because they listen to the wrong person themselves. They're listening to the master of mayhem, the guy that conned Cain.
Brian,
That's
thank you.
the answer.
All right, Brian, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. We go to Pro-Life, who joins us now on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller in the morning.
Yeah, Brian's pretty funny there. He's right. We're listening to the devil. But, you know, Elizabeth Warren was talking about gun violence, and that's one of the national emergencies she'd take up. Well, I got to thinking about that, and, you know, most of the police departments, when they take guns away from criminals or whatever, and they never go back to the criminals, they destroy those guns. Now, there's all kinds of poor people in this nation that need a gun to protect themselves. There's bums out in the streets sleeping under the freeways, you know, and somebody can come along and harm them. Well, I mean, if the police department gave them a gun and showed them what to do, then how to protect themselves, and they checked them out and knew that they were a safe operator of a firearm, then the police wouldn't have to. We wouldn't have so many policemen, because people would be protecting themselves. And but you know, those guns are just going to waste. They just destroy them. Police departments, especially like the one over there in Portland, you know, that was destroying a bunch of guns. They weren't even selling them to reduce the cost of government. And so we are just upside down. And so that's what I'm going to call my sheriff and ask him if he gets extra guns, if there's some nice person that needs.
Some people sell those. They sell them at auctions, too.
They should. But, the police can't watch everybody's house when somebody's threatened, but they could, say, do you have a firearm? If you don't, well, we're going to teach you how to use this, and you can protect yourself. We won't have to stand outside of your house protecting you from the person that's threatening you. I mean, it's so simple. Well, anyway, that's all I wanted to say, and we do need to follow Jesus Christ. Brian's right about that. So anyway, we'll just talk to you another day.
Thank you, Pro-Life. God bless.
All right, we'll see you.
Back to your calls. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Holly in Caldwell, good morning.
Good morning, Kevin. I wanted to make some observations that I've seen recently regarding the media, and then even some things here locally in our area, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are about it, maybe other callers. The first being, I was watching the Noon News yesterday, and they had the guy on with Crime Stoppers, and at the very end of it, he started talking about how illegal it was to vape, and then they encouraged youth to call into Crime Stoppers anonymously and report their friends. And I thought that was very Hitler style.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. And just so I get this right, so the Noon News, there's only one Noon News, that's Channel 7, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
and it was a Crime Stoppers segment.
Okay, so
And
on
at the
channel,
end of it-
hold on, I'm setting this up for everybody because like a lot of us, we just kind of, but this is important. So on the noon news on Channel 7, Crime Stoppers were on, and they said, what do you mean vaping's a crime? I don't understand that.
I guess it's illegal for the youth to be smoking vaping cigarettes, and
Okay.
so they are wanting to crack down on that, and so they're encouraging youth to call Crime Stoppers to report that. And I just thought that was pretty Hitler style. Another thing I've noticed in the school, my sixth grader come home, and now they do this weekly circle thing, and they go around and they give their 1 to 5, how are they feeling, and then they share that. And I don't know if that's just a way to get kids to rat on their parents or what it is, but I just feel like that's kind of developing a, when we were in school, if somebody was breaking the rules, maybe the most thing you do is go tell the principal, but you sure didn't need to call Crime Stoppers on your friend. And I think that's kind of developing the Hitler style, rat on your neighbor. In China, you get points if you do certain things. If you don't cross in a crosswalk, you get a demerit point. Is it going to come here if you text your friend at the wrong spot in the location and your car was at a certain mile per hour, you get some kind of point system? I just don't want to go to the point system. I don't want communism in America. The republic was set up to represent the rights of the individual. And, we bash on the Dems for all this group rule and mob rule. But then sometimes as conservatives, we don't realize that the laws that we pass need to be constitutional and they need to protect the rights of the individual, even at the cost of maybe a few accidents until people learn, because you can't regulate morality. And I just hope that people would understand that we're in a republic and we're not in the laws of the land that I like.
Holly, we will throw it out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. We go to John in Middleton with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, Kevin. Just listening to Warren and just the Democrats in general, they are just so guilty of accusing people of what they themselves are all about. They said that the border is a manufactured crisis. No, climate change is a manufactured crisis. They say Christians, conservatives, white males are committing all these hate crimes. No, Democrats are committing the overwhelming majority of these quote-unquote hate crimes. And, they're the threat of, declaring a national emergency to confiscate guns. They're coming after the guns anyways. They're hell-bent on coming after our guns. So, we just need to keep pushing forward, keep stocking up, and keep Idaho red, because that's going to be important down the road. Idaho needs to stay red, and we need to have people in office who've got a spine and who will never back down and never compromise on our rights, our constitutional rights, our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights. So, we all need to get fired up and stay fired up because it's on. And with that, you have a great weekend.
John, God bless. Thank you, sir.
You too.
Coming up more, back to this Jussie Smollett case. Jussie Smollett accused now of making the hate attack up. Hashtag fake news. Why would this young man do this? Apparently, he wanted a raise on his Fox TV show. Details next. 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
And 85%, I think it's closer to 90, that are liberal. And you can see it. And you say you need two sources. That's so far gone. Why, if you tell the truth like that, do you believe you just pretty much committed career suicide?
Well, it's obvious, right? Because you get targeted, and it's the same group of people. They're already starting to target me again now, and I expected it. And, I was joking that I'm braced for fire and fury because I know they're going to come after me again, and I'm not the only one. I mean, the same people come after you, right? One of them, the Sparrow Project. I mean, this person was tweeting today, Hannity, watch out about Lara Logan stuff, right? And
there we have it, Sean Hannity talking to Lara Logan. We will have more on the media being exposed by one of their own. They target us. They target you. They target Sean, Kevin Miller, and now Lara Logan. We'll get your response next. But first, traffic and weather together. KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. Thank you, Larry. More of your calls next. Let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
Great day today. As Larry Gebhardt said, enjoy it while we can, right? At least the skiers are going to be happy. Let's go out to Michelle Polino live from La La Land, Fox News Radio. Talk a little bit about the Oscars. Are the Oscars really relevant anymore, Michelle?
It's a great question, and I'm glad you put it that way. My answer would be yes, but the form that it takes is no longer relevant. So watching the Oscars on TV is no longer relevant. Watching your Twitter feed, Facebook feed, Instagram feed has become more relevant. Or at least it's getting there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to sit through a 3-hour show. They just want to see the highlights.
Yeah, you remember in the day, though, who wore what? Joan Rivers with the red carpet show.
Yeah, I do remember that. Joan Rivers was great.
Yeah.
But we're too PC these days. And everything is so political coming out of Hollywood that everybody is just so shut down.
Right.
And they don't want to hear it anymore. They're tired of it. And I'll also offer this up. 2 years ago, when the Oscar So White campaign began, and that resulted in a fundamental restructuring of the Academy's voting board, we are seeing the after effects. And, you know, one of my favorite films this year was A Star is Born. Bradley Cooper should have got some director love, but he didn't. And the only reason he didn't is because it wasn't a political film. It was just a love story. Meantime, did anybody watch Cold War by Pavel Pavlovsky? Yeah, that's a romance, too. That got nominated because it's political. And so what we have, that fundamental restructuring, the more diverse Academy, has fundamentally changed the Oscars, too, and made it more political.
Right, but as what happened with the NFL, could this be happening to the Academy? Okay, we've got to be PC, we've got to do this. Dude, I just want to see how the Avengers did.
Well, at least you got Black Panther. You got Black Panther in there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the one good thing. That's the one good thing that you know, at least this younger, more diverse Oscar voting crowd brought in for the first time a Marvel superhero film. Of course, it had a social message because they had to do that. But at least it's in there, and we got that in there. And I have to say, Roma and The Favorite, they're just boring movies this year. It just is. I think Black Klansman was very good. And A Star is Born was very good. And I thought The Wife was extraordinary with Glenn Close, and I think she's going to walk away with it.
Yeah, I see.
And Bohemian Rhapsody was great.
Right.
I personally like that, and Green Book. So there are some really great films in there, but do I think that those are the ones that are going to be highlighted?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Michelle Polino joining us, Fox News Radio, exclusively on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio in the Treasure Valley. But, you know, let me go back further. You know, you live in La La Land, you cover everything, but really, has Netflix really replaced Hollywood? You've got the Kevin Costner, Woody Harrelson thing coming out. It's going to be in theaters for a couple weeks, then on Netflix. It almost seems like and for those of us that were analog kids, going to the movies was a big deal, but why do that? You get a better screen at home.
I think you're right. I just read this article, and I'm trying to think of who it was. It was a big-time Hollywood executive, and he spoke for the first time, like from a Hollywood executive, said, "Oh no, the game's changed. Netflix is the winner. Netflix is the winner. They've wiped out the studio system. Netflix and Amazon are now kings and king makers." So, what your comment is actually right on target.
Finally, it's been a bad year for Hollywood. Last year, incredible year. Box office not so well this year. Any thoughts on the end of the year run that could save the box office bonanza, if you will?
We're going to get this has been a really slow start to this year, surprisingly. But I know the movie cycle and I know the box office cycle. We have a really good year, followed by a little bit of a slower turn. And we had a $12 billion year last year, which is extraordinary, right? You think about those numbers. Once we kick into April and we start seeing some big tentpole films, the franchise films starting, because we got a lot of them this year, all through the summer, I think we'll see a box office change. Do I think it'll reach the 12 billion status? Not sure about that.
Michelle Polino, until there's another superhero movie, I guess we'll leave it to that.
Yeah. They're coming in April. They always do.
Michelle, thank you. You have a great day.
You have a great one. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye-bye. From La La Land to the land of the Treasure Valley, Tea Party Bob joins us, GemStatePatriot.com, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. A little chilly out there this morning, I found out. And, of course, I don't have all of the insulation that you do, so it was a little chillier than usual.
Thinks to be a skinny this time of year.
You know, the Democrats will implode by themselves in 2020. When you listen to Pocahontas say that the three major problems in our country are climate change, student loans, and gun violence, you realize she doesn't have a clue. She's trying to play on the fears of the younger generation who have never been taught real American history, how to balance a checkbook, and never sat in a gas line for 12 hours to get half a tank of gas. The millennials are living in a world that's full of lies and fears propagated by the people who have been teaching them in our educational institutions for the past 50 years. The problem is with the teachers, not the students. We already hear Kamala Harris, O'Rourke, and Booker distancing themselves each day further from the radical ideas of Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez as they move further to the center. You know, the problem with socialist-centered ideas they're still more radical, but than anything we've seen since Obama. And this move towards socialism is going to fail once the millennials figure out that there's nothing for free and that the new regulations that are going to be imposed by the Democratic leadership are going to weigh heavy on the young people as taxes rise and opportunities wane. And just a few words about your guest this morning talking about the 18-year-old long Afghanistan war. The corporate military establishment hopes this war will never end. This reminds me so much of the Vietnam War in '65, when there was an attack on the Maddox by Vietnamese PT boats in South China Sea, and supposedly there was a second attack not long after. Well, skepticism of the second attack still prevails in the history books back to the event where they alleged the second attack took place. There were 6-foot-high seas, and it was suspected the Maddox radar was down, so they never actually saw the Vietnamese PT boats. It was Johnson who took this second alleged attack and started the real hostilities with the North Vietnamese that cost us the lives of 58,000 men and women who fought and died in that war. You know, it's okay to help people in different nations to obtain their freedom from oppression and support them in many ways. But why is it that we are the ones who always seem to suffer the true losses and always carry the burden of the huge debt incurred by the foreign wars? You know, it's high time we had the rest of the world pay for what they do not participate in to a much higher degree. And President Trump has done that by threatening to pull out of NATO and starting to pull our troops out of places like Syria and Afghanistan. You know, Trump is the first president who has ever really figured this out and has basically told the corporate military establishment to go fly a kite. You know, we don't need to be the policemen of the world. Things have to change, and I certainly am seeing that happen little by little with this man in power. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. I hope you have a great day.
Tea Party Bob, stay warm, skinny.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
All right. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here. I want to thank everybody who attended the Lincoln Days event last night at the Grove. It was a great time. It was always wonderful to see so many people coming out. And, you know, a very different year. Last year, it was an incredible competitive campaign. This year, everybody getting to enjoy themselves. Of course, next year, people will be running for re-election. A lot of things going on in the legislature. I'm going to go over a few of them and take your calls on this. Most notably, we still aren't seeing any movement when we're talking about the repeal of the grocery tax. And we will be here in the hinterlands continuing to hold the politicians accountable. Now, the governor made a statement that he will not let the legislature leave until they figure out how to fund Medicaid expansion. Well, I thought Medicaid expansion was going to be quick, going to be easy. It was going to be wonderful. It was going to be bing, bang, boomy, because we're just getting a bunch of free money from Washington. In fact, Washington owes us money. They're going to fund 90% of this. And people bought it. Too good to be true? Okay, usually is, right? So where are we going to get the money? Here's the other thing that gets me. And I think this is a legitimate, credible issue. Why not have a discussion about this? The governor, as is the state tradition, met with the vaunted Idaho Press Corps about what's on his agenda, what laws should pass, this, that, and the other. Was there a question about the repeal of the grocery tax? Did anybody have enough guts to do that? I mean, that's really the question. And it's one thing talking to the press, but let me be biased about our forum, our town hall, what we have here. There is no filter. You don't have somebody asking a question. We have them on. You call in. You put them on the spot. Where's that accessibility? Where's that accessibility with Speaker Bedke, who many tell me is, well, ruling with an iron hand? What's an example of that? Well, where's the repeal of the grocery tax? I guess that's laundered in committee. Published reports now say I'm going to tell you a story that is not getting a lot of attention. And somebody turned me on to this last night. And, you think about this, about the state treasurer's office, which is a constitutional office. And you're thinking to yourself, well, why is that a big deal? Apparently, they're going to boot the treasurer out of her office to make room for the politicians. From what we understand here, according to two published reports, you're looking at leadership in the House actually evicting the state treasurer from her offices to refurbish offices that are only used maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year. From the Lewiston Tribune, House Speaker Scott Bedke informed then State Treasurer Ron Crane last January he would have to relinquish his offices on the first floor of the Capitol by the end of the year because the House of Representatives needs new offices. Aren't they citizen legislators? And apparently, I guess, you're looking at a cost of how much money? $3.5 billion? To get new office space? Now, here's the deal. Who needs offices anyway? You're either on the floor of the legislature or you're out with the people. Is this a proper use of the legislature's time? Nobody in the Treasure Valley is covering it. They don't want to get on the wrong side of the speaker. Jim in Middleton with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you today?
Still employed and thankful for that, sir.
Well, I think you will be for a while. Anyway, in regards to the Proposition 2, I believe, Medicare, you're going to get something for free vote that we had that was on the last ballot. Former Governor Otter should be held to account, and others that promoted that bill and sold it like you were going to save money and so forth. This kind of advertising on when it comes to bills like this and so forth, these people need to be held to account, Kevin. I was a little surprised that the people in Idaho fell for that. who claim to be conservative themselves, and they hear the word free. I guess they couldn't help themselves and didn't bother to look at this bill a little bit closer. But again, those that promote it and stand up and tell you how great it is and how much money we're going to save, and then now they're trying to figure out where the money's going to come from to fund it. These people need to be held to account for false advertising.
Good point. But,
anyway,
I mean, look, you don't have to be a brain surgeon, Jim, to figure out those ads were so misleading. You're going to get free money. You're going to live life large. Washington owes us money. And I'm going, you got to be a dope to fall for that. They were, the people that put them together, they knew just play the hits and people would do that.
Kevin, I'm just amazed. When I hear the word free, I go the opposite direction. And it amazes me that people fall for this. But I was really surprised there again that the people in Idaho that claim to be conservatives, the people that talk but don't walk and listen to this rhetoric and just, I don't know if they're in Hollywood or the land of Oz and think that this is really going to happen. Anyway, I was just so surprised when it had passed. But there, like I said, Kevin, we need to hold these people account when they promote a bill or law, what have you, Obamacare, Affordable Health Care Act, Proposition 2 here, when it says one thing and it's another. If you do that in business and you sell a product that isn't what they claim, that's fraud, and you get sued for that. I think the same thing needs to happen to these people in office.
Jim, great point. Thank you.
You bet, Kevin. Have a great day.
You too. Quickly to Brenda with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi.
I'm from a smaller county, but I've been here in Boise all week with my granddaughters. And I had a discussion with my 6th grade granddaughter yesterday that just sent me straight through the roof, and I think I may just be naive. I don't know. But apparently in their 6th grade classroom, they were having a discussion time, and so the teacher decided they should discuss global warming. And she asked all the kids if they believed in global warming. And she basically shamed those who didn't raise their hand and told them that they were dumb if they didn't believe in it. Now, I knew that happened in colleges, but 6th grade?
I would agree with you. And, somebody came up to me the other day very worried about how our kids are being indoctrinated. Global warming, you don't have a gender. What's next?
Oh, yeah. And I guess it's been long enough since my kids were in school. And like I said, these are my grandkids, and I'm not used to hearing what goes on in the bigger school districts here in town. But I was just livid. And I just had to get it off my chest, and I've listened to you, so I thought, well, I'll just tell Kevin about it.
That's what we're here for, Brenda. Thank you, and make sure you stand up for your grandkids. God bless.
Oh, I will. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Brenda. Coming up, much more, and Glenn Beck. Stay tuned. A lot going on. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.